I have failed you. I know, what a big surprise, but Uncle Wally has failed you. At the end of my last video, I promised that, did I promise? I don't think I really promised, but I said I was going to upload a project that I had been working on, but I haven't had time. This time of year, getting pulled in a million different directions. You know the vibes, you know how it goes, but I did want to at least upload something today, and this is going to be podcast style Wally, where I just, roll up the sleeves a little bit and just talk off the cuff about a topic. And the thing I wanted to talk about today was something I was thinking about, just popped into my head, but it was to do with conversations. So yeah, let's run the intro. One of the most popular questions that gets asked amongst ex-Jehovah's Witnesses, or at least has been asked to me, and, I ask it back just because that's what you do, was there anything that you thought was a net positive about your experience as a Jehovah's Witness? And for, I would say, the vast majority of people, the answer is always the same. Well, I learned how to communicate. I learned how to speak to people. I learned how to, I was knocking on strangers' doors and trying to strike up conversations with them. So I learned public speaking and speaking ability. Like, that is something that I'm good at now. And I always find that just a tad curious for some reasons that I guess I'll get into. But what initially got me thinking about this was a couple of weeks ago. I met up with someone that I knew. I'm really going to age myself. I can't even believe I'm about to say this, but someone that I knew nearly 20 years ago. Yes, I am Uncle Wally. I have reached Unk status. But yeah, someone that I knew about 20 years ago. And found YouTube, blah, 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 all of that good stuff. And so we met up and had lunch. And it will never cease to amaze me how surface level all of the friendships, all of these people that you look at and think, wow, these are my brothers, these are my sisters, this is my family. They sing it in their little songs all the time. I think they just had one pretty recently within the last couple months that was like, this is our family. And that's how you really feel like when you are in that. But when we met up for lunch, you get a completely different picture from the perception that you had of that person, previously. And it really speaks to how vapid and everything is within the organization. All of those friendships are so meaningless. And last night I was having trouble falling asleep, and I was just kind of like, thinking about this, and it kind of saddened me in a way, because I really took the time to think about all of these individual people that I thought, these are my best friends, not just people that are in the Kingdom Hall that we say are our family, but even people that are considered our best of friends. And I was sitting there thinking, at least me, I never really knew them. I never really understood them. Things about them, data points, little quirky facts, some of their likes and dislikes. But when you really start to know someone, I feel like you get into the realm of what really makes them them, those things that separates them from other people, those individual characteristics and opinions and talking points and ways of seeing the world. And as I'm thinking about this, I'm like, wow, you just don't really get any of that as a witness. It doesn't really exist almost. Because these are people, some of my best friends, people that, maybe I would have asked to be a groomsman in my wedding or something. And yet I don't really know them like that. And it's kind of a curious thing to think about. So because of this little intersection of ideas where people leave the witnesses and think, oh, I'm such a great communicator, blah, blah, blah. And this idea that, well, can you really be such a great communicator if you never get to know someone like properly and authentically. So that's why I kind of wanted to talk about this a little bit. So I think just to draw things or roll things back a little bit and kind of like set the foundation, like why is it the case? Like why is it that you don't really know people? And I think it's for a couple of reasons. Obviously, there's a million reasons for everything, but some of the major things that I think contribute to this phenomenon are how scared everyone is of not fitting the mold for like the perfect Jehovah's Witness. Like everything about that organization is what you put forward, and there's this whole other life. Just as I found out quickly when I met up with that friend, there's all of this other stuff going on behind the scenes that it's like, holy crap. And so because there is this, I think, need really just for survival to put your best foot forward, everyone that you communicate with is going to be doing that. You know, they're not going to give something that will raise eyebrows as far as an opinion goes. They're not going to have an original idea about something for fear that that could get them in trouble. And you just don't want to cause trouble in your life. Who wants to just unnecessarily add stress? So when you are a witness, your whole life evolves around that. You know, it's going to dictate where you go on vacation, how long of a vacation that you take, the type of work you do, the type of movies you watch, the books you read, any media that you consume. All of that is going to be informed by that identity as being a good Jehovah's Witness. And no one wants to put that at risk, because we've all been part of a conversation where someone says something that is outside of the normative vernacular for witnesses. The best, I guess I can give examples. Maybe that'd be a little more useful instead of just blabbering on about nothing. Something that me and my brother often talked about was evolution. And we had pretty much just accepted it as a fact, because it's pretty difficult when you look into it and you spend some time researching it, and you do any type of research outside of Watchtower publications, which both me and him had done, and it's like, damn, this really holds up. Like, it just kind of is. And so privately amongst ourselves, you know, we had this sort of kooky idea that God used evolution, even though Watchtower publications specifically say no, he didn't. But it was something that we basically just like rationalized it. That was our apologetic way of looking at it, because it's like, well, both these things can exist and we still want to be witnesses, and Jehovah's still real. So maybe he just used that, and we haven't quite caught on to exactly how that went about, because natural selection seems to be like just this thing that's like very plain, obvious, clear, easy to understand for the most part. And you feel foolish if you're not accepting it. At least that's how me and him looked at it. And so we were, I think, doing I'm really going to just date myself all over the place here. We were going to the premiere of the Star Wars when it first came back. And we, you know, had like tickets to see like the midnight showing of it and everything. And we went with a couple different people, and we went to one of those theaters where you can like order food and drinks. And so we all had a couple of drinks, and we're a little bit lucid in our conversation. And this topic had kind of come up because I had made a joke, or he had made a joke, you know, about natural selection. And when that topic came up and we had proposed sort of this goofy hypothesis about, you know, how it actually is a thing, and, you know, how can you compartmentalize that with our faith, the eyebrows just like went like all the like windshield wipers. Like, if the people who weren't bald then, their eyebrows moved so far up their face they were bald after that moment, because holy crap, you say something that is outside of the normal conversation dialogue tree of witnesses, and immediately there is this palpable discomfort that people are feeling. And you learn quickly just not to do it. You know, if I'm going to disagree with something, I need to disagree privately. And I feel that if you went and talked to most people that have been in the organization, I would say with a fair amount of confidence that the 95 percentile of them will say, yes, there were things that I disagreed with in the Bible or in Watchtower teachings, but I never talked about them publicly. I think that's a very common experience because it only takes one time of doing it and you realize, oh, okay, no one really wants to hear that. And if everyone has this, or most people have this shared experience, that means that those original ideas, those original opinions, the things that actually make conversations interesting. I'm not one for small talk. I don't really care about small talk. It kind of annoys me. Asking about the weather, if I'm at the gym and someone wants to tap my shoulder and say the most mundane, like, where's the gray matter in your brain thing, I don't care. I really genuinely, honestly just could care less. And I find that conversations where you're, you know, being able to express yourself and give opinions and you're hearing someone and you're hearing those opinions yourself, those are the most valuable to me. Those are the ones that I look back on with a great level of fondness. And you don't get that. You don't get any of that original idea because everything always has to circle back to how it relates to faith. And when it comes to the Jehovah's Witnesses, it's not just, well, we believe these things. It's all encompassing. It's your entire life. So just about any opinion that you could possibly form, it might infringe like on that notion of, oh boy, okay, well, that's going to break this rule, or that's going to be against what the Bible says here. That's what the Watchtower said here. And that's just really sad. And I think because of that, people don't feel like being their authentic selves unless, you know, otherwise inebriated from alcohol or weed. And another way that I think this comes up very naturally, and this is an expression, if you've been a Jehovah's Witness, you know it all too familiar. And when you hear it from the outside, it's like the most culty, terrifying thing you've ever heard in your life. But the expression, well, what do we think about that? And I'll explain what that means to anyone who's never been a witness. If you're still even watching this, probably not. But what do we think about that means you have to go to the Jehovah's Witness Watchtower archives and find out what the official doctrine or position is on something. And that is something that every Jehovah's Witness knows. Someone will bring it up, some holier than thou, and be like, oh, hip hop music. Well, what do we think about that? And they'll pull up some Watchtower from 1974 that talks about hip hop music being bad, and they will feel superior to you, and that's how you're supposed to feel about hip hop music. It doesn't matter the context, it doesn't matter the content. If something has a heavy beat and people are rhyming their words stylistically, it's bad. It's bad because the Awake in 1974 says it's bad, and that's what we think. And that whole concept is weird on the outside because you never like say that in the real world. What do we think? You ask individuals, hey, what do you think about this? Or what's your opinion on this? It's not like, oh, what is our shared consciousness? You know, let's go to the archives and see what the shared consciousness, the collective, tells us to think. So, yeah, the I don't know if you've ever seen Rick and Morty, but it's like that Unity episode where everyone, you know, has like this shared consciousness. It feels like that is what people do oftentimes in the organization. And again, this is a barrier to having a good conversation because what the heck are you going to talk about? And this is another like classic Jehovah's Witness mindset thing. But when you are faced with the proposition, even if it's a family member, of having to socialize with them, one of the big things that the Jehovah's Witness section of the family will talk about amongst themselves is, well, we don't have anything in common. What are we going to talk about? Like these are real conversations. Like you're going to go and meet and have dinner with your grandparents or your aunts and your uncles, your cousins, and you'll be sitting there with your Jehovah's Witness section of the family saying, what are we going to talk about? And that's just because they don't think original ideas. They don't form opinions based off of data they've collected. They're just receptacles for whatever crap that the governing body wishes to take on any given year, and they just throw it in their brains and bada bing, bada boom. That's it. So when it comes to this idea of, well, one of the great things that I learned as a Jehovah's Witness was communication, I just question that. It was like, did you learn how to communicate? Because if you're only force-fed your opinions, you're not able to explore and think about things from multiple perspectives, if you're not able to exercise any level of nuance, are you ever capable of being a good communicator if you don't learn those skills? Like, what is the preaching work going to teach you? Hi, I'm one of Jehovah's Witnesses, and I'm here to talk to you about the Bible. There's so much crime going on. Have you ever heard of crime before? Why are you here again? Well, we're offering free home Bible studies talking about a world where there's no crime. I'm not really interested in the Bible. Oh, so you don't want to live in paradise earth forever? You want to die at Armageddon? Are you sure? Could you get off my... that's not teaching you communication skills. That's just doing a poor job of what the governing body already does a poor job of. And that's trying to communicate information. Have you see the videos I upload? Sometimes I genuinely feel like the governing body can't make heads or tails of their own doctrine. And then some person that can't form original ideas unless you are a governing body member, they're meant to go and knock on a stranger's door and be convincing? It's just never going to happen. So I don't really think that you learn that skill. It's like the difference, maybe I've used this before, but it's like the difference between having a swimming instructor and someone that pushes you in the back and falls in the pool. Are those two things equal? And I think learning communication in a natural, healthy way is like having a swimming instructor. They're going to teach you some of these skills that you need to have in order to effectively communicate with people. And if you're a Jehovah's Witness, you don't get that. You get a foot on your butt and you are in the deep end of the pool. And if you're really treading water and it looks like you're not going to make it out of there, then maybe potentially they'll rescue you. But that's not oh man, I'm so grateful for the person that pushed me in the water for teaching me how to swim. It's well, I suppose they put me in a situation where I had to learn or I was going to die. That's not... Anyway, that's just my take on that. But now, one of the things that is important to... I think is important, so especially if you're just now leaving the organization, to learn is how chill and okay it is to disagree. I know sometimes, especially if you're involved in a lot of online communities, that perception that there's nowhere to disagree amongst people, everything's black and white, this or that, that perception can oh, well, the world is kind of just like Jehovah's Witnesses are, where it's either this or that. But at least in my experience, that most people you talk to out there, boots on the ground in the real world, having a disagreement is totally fine. And even a lot of people you talk to online, it's not a big deal. Every difference of opinion isn't a difference of principle. And when you disagree with someone, there's this beautiful moment where you can say, well, can you tell me how you got to the point to see things how you are? And then I can understand that better. And I can tell you how I got to the point where I see things the way I see them. And now they understand me better. And if we still don't see eye to eye, that's okay. You can disagree as friends. When you're a Jehovah's Witness, there's no such thing as disagreement. There's not. You kind of have to fall in line, and there is this fear of expressing personal opinions as being a negative thing, and you will be perceived as a negative influence for others for expressing personal opinions. It's even said in Watchtower publications or in videos that we need to be weary of expressing our personal opinions in certain instances because, we don't want to offend anyone. So it just makes people very like, oh, well, I guess I'll just keep it to myself then. But when you go out there and just like talk to regular people, not me at the gym, but you just talk to just regular normal people. Well, I shouldn't say that because someone came up to me the other day at the gym and we had a lovely conversation, honestly. So that's not entirely true either. You get what I'm saying. But you'll quickly realize that it is a-okay to disagree and to just like talk about the disagreement. And honestly, some of the best conversations you'll have are in disagreeing because they'll probably nudge you a little bit their way, you nudge them a little bit your way, and you can both walk away of having learned something. And you have a deeper understanding of, how someone else can live a different experience and look at the exact same data and facts and come to a different conclusion based off of those things. And it's okay. The world doesn't stop. You don't have to go to fisticuffs. It's not like, oh, well, I'm never going to speak to you ever again because I have this disagreement with you. Like, no, it's super chill. It's not that big of a deal. So when it comes to like leaving the organization, and I think a lot of people, maybe they think about this stuff. One of the things that I get nervous about, and this is something that I experienced when I left, is holy heck, you become a freaking yes man. Ooh-wee. You don't know how to communicate because all you know is how to agree with people. Then you leave the organization and that is your foundation. Plus, you think that you're a good communicator because you knocked on people's doors and were trying to sell them Jesus. So you take some of those, if you think that that is the one thing you benefited from, and you take that with you, you're really getting a recipe for disaster here. You are just going to agree with everyone and just be a people pleaser without any thought behind it. You might not even realize that you've taken those same people-pleasing principles and applied them, that's a lot of P's there, into your post-witness life. And that's something to just every once in a while take a step back and evaluate. You don't have to be some insufferable jerk or anything, but just to take a step back and think, okay, am I doing the people-pleasing thing a little bit too hard here? How can I, how do I even know? How can I identify? So just good questions to ask yourself. But anyway, this is just something that popped in my little noodle because I was thinking how incredibly sad it was to be completely surrounded by these people that I thought were my best friends and my family, and I didn't even know them. Didn't know anything about them, didn't know who they were, what makes them tick, and I'm sure a lot of people have experienced that as well. And it helps a little bit, especially this time of year when you're thinking like, oh man, it's easy to say, oh, well, they're fake friends, they would have shunned me, but then we end up like crying in a corner because we miss them. But actually like really breaking things down into their components, at least for me, it helps to understand like, wait, I didn't actually even know them that much. Like the thing that I'm missing is the idea of them, but not them. And right now I can go out and not just have to have the idea, I can have actual chosen family. That we have meaningful conversations and they know me and I know them. And that's cool. That's awesome. That's great. Anyway, that's about all I got to say. Sorry, no proper upload today or probably tomorrow as well. Just got a lot of things going on, but hopefully this weekend I can kick it into high gear and get that video out that I promised. With all that being said, stay safe, be kind, and don't forget to spend more time loving the things you love than hating the things you hate. Now go out there, have a conversation, and you'll have a good ass day.